everyone. Welcome to another episode here on Questing Onward. I'm Ashton.
And I'm Whitney.
Thank you guys for joining us for another episode here. Today, first things first, we appreciate all the comments. Feel free to shoot us over a DM on Instagram if you have any topics, questions, or anything you'd like us to discuss. We love getting them, and we really appreciate any of the feedback as well. So, today's topic, this is going to be new. Whitney, we got through about half of this. The dog started barking, so I had to re-record, which is the worst feeling ever. So some of these questions are going to be Whitney has already heard, but the second half is going to be, she has no idea what's coming. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about how, can we, from a husband standpoint, show support to our wives? Like, what does that look like? So for starters, the first question I have for you is, what do you feel like support looks like to you?
So I would say there's lots of different kinds. I think there's emotional support. I think that there's parental support. Obviously, we're both parents, but I think really making sure that you're there with me as I'm parenting, we're both present as we're parenting is a key one. Physically there, I think mentally, there's just so many, spiritually, there's just in every aspect of my life, I think.
Yeah, and so if I hear you right, you're saying there's no shot. Like there's too many things we have to do.
Men are all going to fail.
We're all going to fail.
Just kidding.
But I guess let me ask you this: what do you feel like are maybe one or two of the best ways that we as husbands can show support?
When I think about that, immediately what comes to mind is the 5 love languages, and I think for me, you do a really good job at doing all of them. You're kind of the golden ticket. You're kind of the chosen one. I know.
It's not true.
Very true. But you do a really good job at checking all of those boxes. But I think the ones that stand out to me the most are when you can tell that I'm struggling. Sometimes I'll come and ask you for help, but I think a lot of times you look at me and you can see that I'm struggling and you'll step in and say, what can I help you with? Or you'll just look around and you'll find something. And, if it's you need 30 minutes just to run to Target or go take a bath or just go on a drive, just leave.
Yeah. And
there are a lot of times I kind of fight you on that and you'll say, no, you need to go now.
That one's truthfully is actually for my sake, not necessarily hers. I may look like you may think it's for your sake, but there's a big part of it that's for me, if I'm being honest. And the kids say, no, just leave. No, please, just leave.
Leave.
No,
leave now.
We love you, and you need this. But as soon as she walks out of the door, I just shake my head. I'm like, good hell. I'm so glad she's just kidding. A little bit of truth.
We were
there.
all going to die.
A little bit of truth there some days. But no, I think that that is key. And I think, I don't know, you talked about the 5 love languages. What I guess we already kind of talked to this a little bit, but what do you feel like are how can we figure out your love languages as husbands? Is it just communication, or what does that look like?
I think a lot of it is communication, and I think that's really easy to do, just having a conversation about how can I support you. I know that sometimes I don't think you're struggling right now, but in the future, what would that look like? Right now, what does that look like? So I think planning for the future and talking about now as well, having a plan for what that looks like. But I think just thinking about checking all 5 of those love languages, I think that's really important.
Yep.
I don't think it should just be 1 or 2. I think it should be all of them. I think everyone needs to hear words of affirmation. I think everyone needs quality time. I think everyone needs physical touch, acts of service, and whatever the 5th one is. I think I always forget it.
Yeah.
Gifts. That's what it is. Yeah.
I think something that for me, I remember when I learned this, going through the dating game of hey, when you start dating and courting someone, you're going to make sure to look for their love language and make sure to meet that expectation. I quickly didn't buy into that personally. I just feel like we as human beings, we're pretty complex individuals, and there isn't a one thing that one person always needs. That just doesn't make sense.
Or 2.
Yeah, no, I think we all need all 5. Now, there are certain people who are I think you and I both have our ones that we're more inclined to feel or need. But I think we all need all 5, right? And so I think a big part of it is that aspect of it is just hey, guys and girls, make sure that you're loving your spouse in more than 1 or 2 ways. Show love in all 5 ways. And I feel like that goes a long way. I don't know, what are your thoughts? You agree?
Yeah, I would 100% agree. And with that too, I don't think it's just one thing that's one and done. You do it once a week and you're good. It's the little day-to-day things that really add up. And just little things. They don't have to be you're planning an elaborate date every single weekend. They don't have to be I mean, I do enjoy this, you cooking dinner every single night, but I don't need that. Do I want it? Hell yes.
And you get
Do I need it? I mean, I do. Okay. I'm not complaining about that. But it can be just these little tiny things of taking my hand and just saying, hey, I saw this really specific, insert specific compliment here. I saw this today and I really appreciated that you did that. And so that positive feedback. And then again, I think just stepping in, if I'm asking for help, sometimes with the kids, it gets crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I come to you, I'm like, hey, can you take Elsie right now? I'm about to blow my lid.
Yeah.
And you're immediately there. Amazing.
Sure.
I love it.
This is like perfect segue into my next question, which
You're welcome.
before I get into this real quick, I had thought of already what I was going to talk about this to a certain degree, and spoiler alert, one of this exact scenario kind of happened tonight. And so I'm curious, like, how do we as husbands combat this rare occurrence? It doesn't happen very often. Some people it happens more often than not. But sometimes from a husband standpoint, it feels like we're playing a game of lose-lose. And what I mean by that is, like, we can try to help and support, but sometimes that's losing and we don't do it the right way. So does that make sense? You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. So how do we as, like, a husband, when, like, maybe you ask us to do something, or even, like, for example, I think oftentimes we try to just do those things and then we're, like, scolded for doing it, right?
You did it wrong.
Yeah, it's like you did, and then it's just like, well, why did I do it in the first place? Like, I didn't need to do that. Like, I did it to try to help, but now I'm getting chastised for it. So what are ways that we as men and our husbands, how can we avoid these lose-lose games? And, like, is there a more effective way to win, to turn this into a game of win-win for both parties?
I don't know that I'm an expert on this because I still do this to you sometimes. So I will try and answer this question.
Sure. Again, disclaimer, we're not experts. We never claim to be experts. We just love communication and, like, all of its, like, intricacies. So that's why we talk about this. We're just as flawed as everyone else.
So I think having a conversation like this with your spouse is important, because I'm sure this happens in every single marriage, where maybe I'll ask you to fold the laundry and maybe you don't fold it the right way.
Sure.
Or maybe I ask you to fold the laundry and you fold it, but then you don't put it away, right? And I think that's a big one. And so I think in my mind, when I say do the laundry, I'm saying everything that entails.
Sure.
Right? Which isn't fair to you.
Well, because...
different expectations.
Well, yeah, because I think, like, you know, in some of these experiences, let's use laundry, for example, for whatever reason this is being brought up. Not tonight. But let's say, for example, like, because, like, for example, let's say that maybe oftentimes do the laundry when you see laundry, sometimes it's on the bed, or, you know, maybe it's on a specific part of the floor. So, in essence, what if we as men think that we are doing the laundry, but we're not? So, like, how do we navigate that?
So again, I think it comes back to communication.
Sure.
So for you, that may look like folding the laundry and then putting it on the bed.
Okay.
And I may do that sometimes as well, but knowing I'm going to get back to that, right? But I think it's, again, having those conversations. So, okay, when you tell me I need to do the laundry, do you want me to put it away as well? Yeah, great. Or on my part, I think it's also being grateful for what's given.
Yeah.
I think as women, I don't know how to phrase this, but I think sometimes we have exactly what we want done in our mind, and when it isn't done the exact way,
like it wasn't done.
It's like it wasn't done. Or even worse than that, it's like they did it begrudgingly.
Sure.
They didn't do it with the pure intention that they wanted because they wanted to help us.
Sure.
Out of the goodness of their heart. It's like we had to drag them to do it, if
Gotcha.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so we want you to want to help us because we want you to help us.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel like as a woman, this would make sense.
Yeah, to me,
as a man, you're like, I have no idea what that means.
Still don't even know if I fully understand, to be honest, but...
What is that movie? I don't remember what it is. It has Jennifer Aniston.
Well, you know, I'd know the movie because she's like #1 fan for me, but...
She's so hot. But we love you, Jennifer Aniston. But they're leading up to a divorce. He's sitting on the couch playing video games. She had just prepped all this food for him, and she wanted him to come and help her do dishes. And she didn't want to have to ask him. She just wanted him to want to help her.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I think it's with Vince Vaughn, but yeah, I don't remember the movie name.
Don't remember the movie name. And I think that's the thing is we want you to be supportive.
Sure.
We want you to see what needs to be done, and we want you to help. We may have to do a part 2 on this. But I think what it boils down to is spelling it out for your partner exactly what you want, or being grateful for the help. And I think being grateful for the help is the bigger thing that we need to focus on.
Interesting. Yeah, I think we'll need a part 2 because I want to elaborate on this a little bit because I still feel kind of confused. And if I'm confused, then they're probably confused. So cool.
Fair.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.